Dzień dobry, welcome to the show today, Anything and Everything. I am your host, Obinna Emeka, and today we will be talking about a whole lot of things. There's a whole lot of things on our table for us to talk about. Today we'll be looking at the poor of our society, the poor of the world, the poor in our society, and what can be done to them, what can be done for them, and how we get to see things. Dear listeners, today you're listening to me, your host, Obinna Emeka, on Anything and Everything, the show where we delve into the hearts and minds of what it means indeed to be human. Today, we are turning our attention to the silent struggles that unfold the shadows of our society. Stuffs like, the plight of the poor in the quiet corners of, bustling cities and the forgotten stretches of rural lands. There are stories waiting to be told, stories of hardship, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of the human person. We today are going to lend our voice to them, going to lend our voice to their struggles, how they got to be what they are, how they have become what they have become. Because indeed, poverty is an echo of empty promises and unmet needs. It is not just the jungle and the jingles of missing coins. It's a whole lot. It is the warmth of a well lit room, the security of a locked door, and the uncertainty of a meal. That is what poverty deprives a whole lot of persons from. It deprives them from having what they need to carry on as a people, and it matters what these things are, indeed. As we explore, their lives, let us remember that poverty indeed isn't a choice. It is a relentless reality for many, where laughter has been muted by the pressing weight of survival, where dreams are not just deferred but often dismantled before they can even take shape. It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot in life. It's a whole lot in life. It's a whole lot for these people. It's a whole lot. And Bob Dylan has a thing to tell us.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
How many times will things happen before we get to, really appreciate the sense of privilege, the sense of having what we have as a people, the sense of, coming to feel the way we feel and having the things we have as a people. How many times are we going to allow ourselves, to be blind to the things of the next man? How many times are we going to allow ourselves to be carried away by the uncertainty of life and not give us a chance to, really, really want to look into the crux of the matter? The crux of the matter are multifaceted. The crux of the matter carries a whole lot within it. But how many times and for how long do we want to continue to tell ourselves what we tell ourselves, and for how long are we going to continue on this particular path? Because indeed, if you go out to the streets, you will find real needs. If you go out to the streets, you will find people really in need, people in need of help, people in need of a whole lot of things, and it falls on us to, do the helping. It falls on us to see to it that these persons and their needs are indeed actually met. For how many times we continue to tell ourselves the many lies that, our comfort is just for us and for us alone. As long as we continue to tell ourselves this particular story, we do ourselves a great sense of disfavor, because it matters what we do, it matters what we say to ourselves, it matters those around us, the poor in our streets, the poor in our families, the poor in our houses. These are legitimate needs that must be met. These are people that pose serious security threats, not just to themselves, but to us also as a people. How many times are we going to look them on the streets and pass by without doing anything? The works of Mr. Vitek goes a long way, to help see to it that people are not just neglected and left where they are. There's a whole lot of social change going on here, and he's a man that has done a whole lot to try to see to it that life gets better, people get better, and then things get to work very, very well. And it's a thing I get to appreciate so very, very well. And it's something I want to see happen on many fronts. But it's not a thing that, that is done at the moment. A whole lot of persons have different reasons for not engaging in, charity stuff and the likes of that. You mustn't. I am not saying you must, but I'm just saying, as humans in our current world and in our current time, it doesn't make sense that a whole lot of persons get to suffer the way they get to suffer in our times. We as a people have to wake up to the call that has been placed upon us. We as a people have to stand tall, stand strong, stand better, and see to it that life gets to be moving for everybody, because indeed people are suffering. Persons are out there with no need, but it's not just about them suffering. What is the problem? What is the problem here on ground? We have a whole lot of things that can get to see to it that people get to suffer. We have government policy, we have a couple of other things and the likes of that. In a world brimming with wealth and technological advancement as ours, the stark contrast of poverty remains, a pervasive and consistent crisis. The poor of the world, often invincible in the streets of modern cities and the quiet dissolution of rural areas, they face a daily struggle for survival. Their plight is not merely a lack of financial resources, but indeed they are multifaceted challenges that encompass limited access to healthcare, education, and basic human amenities and human rights even. To address the issue on ground, one must first understand its dimensions. Poverty is not solely an economic condition. It is a social ailment that affects individuals' ability to participate fully in society. It is a cycle, often passed down from generation to generation, trapping families in a web of disadvantage and lost potential. And it's not a thing to just look over and pass. The poor are not monolithic in group or something like this. They are from diverse forms and shades of our humanity. They are the children who walk miles for a sip of clean water, the women who toil in fields under the scorching sun for little or no wages at all, and the elderly who spend their twilight years in the cold embrace of neglect. There's a whole lot of things that go on here. There's a whole lot of layers of what constitutes poverty. There's a whole layer of things that get to hit people differently and that get to touch people on different levels and on different layers. It is to these things that we intend and hope to talk about. Poverty of the mind, poverty of the body, poverty of the soul, poverty on different fronts and on different layers. Because indeed, they are multifaceted. And it is our responsibility and it is our duty to see to it that these persons are taken care of, because it matters what the next man is thinking, how the next man is feeling. That is why I would have respect forever for NGOs like us here, trying to do a whole lot to see to it that life gets better, that the people get to have basic life when they get to migrate to different parts of the world. And it is a thing to be proud of, that there are NGOs around, and if the needs be, you as a person should see to it that you contribute to these NGOs and see to it that life indeed gets better with these people, because indeed depression is a real thing. what is it? Depression is a thing for a whole lot of persons, a thing for us to get to think about. Depression comes to different people on different fronts and for various reasons. Reasons are diverse. The reasons are most likely similar because we are all humans. We get to feel all the pains, we get to feel all the problems, we get to feel, and yeah, it is what it is, and life gets to come on different fronts and hits us on different sides. But we have been talking about the poor of the world and the poor of the society. What gets to make these people this poor, and what are the barriers that is still leaving these people where it's leaving them? Several barriers prevent the poor from escaping their circumstances, from lack of education, which limits their job opportunities, while inadequate healthcare perpetuates a cycle of illness and inability to work adequately. Discrimination and social stigma also further marginalize the poor, denying them, the chance to improve their lives. We've talked here about, a lack in education. We've also talked about the inadequacy of them accessing proper health care. And then we've also talked about discrimination and social stigma. What are these things about? These things on many fronts. These barriers are serious barriers because without them accessing proper education, we're talking about the real poor, those who are really, really poor, not those who became poor by way of circumstance. Education gets to stand in the way of them, getting to have a plethora of job opportunities and trying to see how they can, navigate their ways in life. These things get to hinder them, see to it that they don't really get to be the best of themselves or remain within the limits of the available jobs for their kind of person, and it keeps them at a particular level that they cannot really meet up where the world currently is, and it leaves them hanging there. And it is a very, very sad reality that they have to be in such positions, and also sometimes for a very, very long period of time, longer than necessary and longer than they were supposed to be there even. And you find this circle continuing because the circle of poverty, it's a very, very difficult one to break, especially when these persons have not been carried along all along. So it is worthy to note that education, it's not a thing to be left for a few. It's a fundamental human right, and it should be given to as many persons as possible. The poem of Dike Chukwumerije, Fix the Politics, comes to mind here, where he says, which child prefers to remain Amajiri or become someone better? The Amajiri system as practiced in Nigeria at the moment has to be worked on, has to be told that, we live in the 21st century, and parents cannot just give birth to kids and then send them to the streets to just become dependents and stress themselves, live life of lack and this type of stuff, as opposed to the possibility of giving birth within the means of what one can actually take care of. Because the poor of our society, whether we like it or not, pose threats to their own life and our own security as well. So they are not secure, as well as we also are not secure, and it is our duty to see to it that everybody gets adequate education. This adequate form of education would enable them to have multiple options when coming to look for job opportunities. Not just that, it will give them a chance of enlightenment. There is this form of enlightenment that people still don't really come to talk about when it comes to education. Education gives you a space and a platform to leverage on. It emancipates the mind. It opens new possibilities. In fact, endless possibilities for critical minds and conscious beings, and it is what we should be doing if we want to end things like poverty in our world. Assessing basic healthcare services also should be a thing that everybody should be given a chance to do, because if someone is sick, definitely such a person cannot really function very well. Such a person is sick, such a person would not be able to function very well. So it becomes a thing of necessity to see to it that healthcare services should be provided and made available for every person. And what it takes also to be healthy also should be factored in. That is where the society comes in, the type of society one gets to live in, the types of policies implemented, and these type of things. And it matters that we talk about these things, because indeed this is where the workforce of any society would actually come into play. Because if we don't factor these things in, things like healthcare, the best of our society would fall ill, as we all get sick at almost every point in time. We get to feel one kind, and we are always in need of medical attention or medical advice or medical services that get to see to it that, we live a healthy life and the likes of that. And education at the forefront would help, enlighten us on what we ought to do, what we ought not to do, how we ought to live our lives, and how we ought to grow and see to it that our life gets better and our society gets to be functional. Another thing we get to talk about is the whole idea of social discrimination. Discrimination should not be a thing that we should be talking about in the 21st century. Discrimination should not come up at all. It should not even be given a chance to, hold any water. But we find ourselves, in a world constantly becoming more primitive than the definition of primitive itself ought to hold. We are becoming increasingly tribalistic, and almost everybody is falling back to becoming a tribalist, and we begin to look for questions to ask ourselves to justify our passiveness in the world. Things like, this person is not my brother, this person is not my sister, this person is not anything like me, so why should I really care? I will tell you why you should care, because beyond the level of pigment on the skin, beyond the coloration of the outer layer of the skin, within our bones, and within these bones are blood vessels on the outer layers of these bones, and then there are ligaments, and then there are blood groups, and then there are hormones, and then there are genes and things that we can find in almost every person. There are brains for different persons, livers, hearts, kidneys, and the likes of that. And everybody has a chance and have been given this in different proportions and on different scales also to possess this. And it makes it difficult to deny the fact that humanity has been the oldest form of living for us as humans. As D.K. Chukwumeriji again will say, no culture is older than being human. And until we accept this, we are heading nowhere, because the same things that bind us can drive us apart. And indeed, they are driving us apart in our times. They are driving us apart en masse. They are driving us apart on many fronts. And it is a problem. It is a problem we ought to look at. It is a problem we ought to tell ourselves that we are not doing so well. We cannot be discriminating on one another on things that don't really make sense. Things as poverty, it should not be things we get to use and make mockery or get to give people certain form of social stigma and the likes of that, because It can happen to anybody. Life gets to happen to anybody at any time without consulting you. Just like you were not consulted before you were brought into this world, so also you can get poor and get broke without anybody coming to your rescue. That's why I have great respect for NGOs and foundations that really seek out ways to better the lives of the poor in our society. Not NGOs that just try to get funds and get money and become channels for corrupt practices and the likes of that. Real-time NGOs that get to look at life and say that life indeed is very difficult, and we are going to try our best to see that we make life easy and we make life better for as many persons as possible, not to become channels to clear dirty money into a country or clear the money out of the country. To such NGOs and organizations, I doff my hat and I say, well done for trying to see that humanity gets to smile, because we cannot give up on ourselves. We cannot give up on the poor. We cannot give up on education. We cannot give up on healthcare if we want to see the world move forward and grow and stand stronger and better. It matters. It matters what these things are. It matters what we do with them. It matters a whole lot, and we must come to accept this. We must come to accept this, and it is the way forward. Because without this, our world will remain sick and the likes of that. So as to many trying out to see to it that poverty doesn't cripple our system, we get to say, bring it on.
Bring it on, bring it on. You, bring it on. Life know the sweet though, hey. If some people know the hate too, so use the number 6 so and calculate. You go see the ratio. The beef self na meat yo, whether na asu them relate to. So bring your own crayfish show, we go mix so hola. Share na them talk say we no go blow. Share them they see us now, we don't dey glow. Take a look at me now, take a look at me now. We're running things in this town. Can't you see? I don't care who you are, where you're from, or what you do. Just as long as you're chasing money, do what's right, never give up on it. Bring it on, bring it on. Are you ready? Unu ready? No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall. Bring it on, bring it on. Are you ready? Unu ready? No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall. And me rising, rising, rising. Keep it high, rising, rising. Bring it on. This life is not easy. So much hustling and puzzling. Everyone is struggling. So make you know the beliefs say, since everyone is chasing, you're never gonna make it. Never say no, never give up. Keep your head up, standing tall. And for sure, you go turn it up, turn down for what? Hey, Shane and them talk say, we no go blow. Share them they see us now, we don't dey glow. Take a look at me now, take a look at me now. We're running things in this town. Can't you see? I don't care who you are, where you're from, or what you do. Just as long as you're chasing money, do what's right, never give up on it. Bring it on, bring it on. Are you ready? Unu ready? No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall. Bring it on, bring it on. Are you ready? Unu ready? No matter how you try, don't you ever
ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall.
And rising, rising, rising. Keep it high, rising, rising.
I don't care
Who you are,
where you're from or what you do, just as long as you're chasing money. Do what's right, never give up on it.
bring it on, bring it on. Are you ready? Are you ready?
No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall.
Bring it on, bring it on. Are you ready? Are you ready?
No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall.
And rising, rising, rising. Keep it high, rising, rising.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Bring it on. Give us a chance. Give the world a chance to get to grow and get to do things the way they ought to do and live a better life. Give the poor a chance to walk and get to see whether they won't walk, which brings us to the next form of the next area of our conversation today. What are the ways in which we can, get to reduce poverty in our world today? What are the things that we ought to do as a people to reduce poverty? There are many things we can do to get to eradicate poverty from our lives and from the lives of those around us. Though the scriptural saying of Jesus with regards the poor as the poor will always be around us, shouldn't deter us to see to it that we get to make the life of certain persons get better. I am not here championing that we are ever going to be equal in our world. There would never be a time when everybody will be equal. Equality in the world is one form of deception that most persons get to live by, and it is worrying and it is troubling, and it is not worth our time, and we shouldn't be looking at that. Rather, we should be looking at how to close up the margin. How to close up the margin of, reducing the number of poor persons around us. And one of those ways, it's, we've talked about education, we've talked about healthcare, but what happens to those who are actually in poverty at the moment? Those on our streets, those standing by the bus stops, those sleeping under the bridges, those in different places. Things like, shelter should be built. I volunteer at some, shelters in town, and then I get to, meet these poor persons on a daily basis. Not that I myself am rich. I'm equally poor. I'm poor in spirit. I'm poor physically, but I still, keep up my spirit high and keep things going for me. And I believe we are more poorer than we even think we are. We are poorer than we think we are if we think we are not that poor, because we have health challenges, we have intellectual defects here and there, and these are all factors to be considered when talking about and thinking about poverty on different levels and on different strata. It is worth saying and telling ourselves that, things are this way and things are very sad and difficult, and life is difficult entirely, and we must see to it that, we grow and we help others grow too. So empowering people currently in difficulty is a way to go out. Building shelter homes and soup kitchens should also be another way we get to look at things. And we should, as much as possible, also contribute to see to it that, people are brought out of where they are currently. People are given a chance to live better lives. People are given a chance to live in decent homes, provide them with pipe-bomb water, potable water, and decent feeding and the likes of that. But most importantly, get to empower them, like real-time empowerment, not just giving them fish every time to get to eat. That proverbial say, don't give me fish, show me how to fish should be employed here. Their psychological needs should be looked at, because there's a thing that poverty does to the human person that debases it. It takes the person so low that the person can almost do anything just to stay alive. That certain persons can get to do almost anything in the course of living, because indeed it is not easy to be a man.
Being a man is what you make it. You can't always live up to expectations. You try to please everybody while you struggle, so you fake it and end up out of balance, compromising situations. As a good man, do what he should, man. I'll give everything he has and do everything he could, man. You might find yourself feeling all alone inside a house you built that you don't recognize as home. And that's what my daddy told me, and I'll tell my son the same. Now that I'm older, I relate and I actually feel his pain. He never cried, he might have lied, but he did not complain. And he said, son, one day you'll have to do the same. I get emotional when I stop and think and I look around. Beyond the county lines of my small town, I think about all the men out there who feel like I do now, who are screaming on the inside but won't ever make a sound.
bicycle and the boy will love. Not in my eyes, in my mouth, you don't tell her. I ain't telling cause I give you umbrella. I thought we in this together. Give you my necklace, pendant. Give you my last cash, pendant. I show you my best friend. I thought we in this together. Give you my necklace, pendant. Show you my best friend. I give you my last guy, you spend down. Everything I do, I under 50, under. Me and every under, under 50, understand. Nothing when you do me, I under. All of my fans are beautiful, I don't mind, I pick it content. I don't fight. problem. Thunder, thunder, fire, that your reason. Where they give you tip to make you leave me. Thunder, thunder, fire, that your reason. I thought we in this together. Give you my necklace, spender. Give you my last cash, spender. I show you my best friend. I thought we in this together. Give you my necklace, pendant. Show you my best friend. I give you my last guy, you spend down. Everything I do, I under 50, under. Oh, you never be under 50, understand. That's the way you do me, under 50, under.
In all of this, what should we do as a people? How should we move on? How do we get to understand one another? How do we get to understand ourselves in the course of, living life? So, it is worthy to know that indeed there are poor persons around us, poor persons on the street. Today's show is about a call to action, a call to tell us that, indeed, we can actually try to see to it that we help one another, help as many persons as possible. Those we meet on the tram stations, those we meet in different places and on different fronts, as opportunity gets to come our way, we should get to see to it that we want to try and help as many persons as possible, because poverty is real as well as depression, and we shouldn't try to downplay these things. These things are real, these things are important, these things are worth our time, these things should be given the much attention needed to get to better life for ourselves. And we should also be able to take care of ourselves and try to do the things that would not lead us to poverty, because there's nothing to romanticize about poverty. Poverty is only interesting and romantic in novels and in books. In real life, there's nothing to romanticize about being poor. It leads to a whole lot of things that can be avoided on many fronts, and we should try as much as possible to see to it that we reduce such in our world and in our times, because that's the way forward. We should help one another, we should help ourselves, we should help those around us, and we should be better persons ourselves to get to see that life gets to work. I've been your host for today's show on IMI Radio, Anything and Everything, Obinna Emeka, and today we've been talking about the poor of our society and what to do and how to better their lives. We've looked at the many facets that ordinarily can lead one to poverty. We've talked about the whole idea of education, healthcare, and inequality in terms of wealth distribution and the likes of that. But we've also looked at the possibility of getting people empowered and the many things that get to happen in people's life and get to see that their life gets better. And we believe that our lives can get better if we indeed want our lives to get better. And we should team up with NGOs to get to see to it that life gets moving for each and every one of us. We should relate with NGOs around us and hear what they are doing and see how we can get to support what they are doing, because indeed The world is in need of help, and we as a people can get to do that. It is our duty, it is our responsibility to help as many persons as possible.
Think about the generations and to say we want to make it a better place for our children and our children's children, so that they know it's a better world for them, and think if they can make it a better place.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place is much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space, make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. There's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this bliss we cannot feel. Hear or drink, we stop existing and start living. Then it feels that always love's enough for us growing. Make a better world, make a better world. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for living, make a better place for you and for me. And the dream we were conceived in will reveal a joyful face. And the world we once believed in will shine again in grace. Then why keep strangling me when this earth crucify its soul? Though it's plain to see this world is heavenly. Be God's love, make it fly so high. Let our spirits never die. In my heart, I feel you are all my brothers. Create a world with no fear. Together we'll cry happy tears. See the nations turn their swords into plowshares. We could really get there if you cared enough for the living. Make a little space to make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place